Beep, 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 beep. Live from Wellston, Georgia, it's the Wartown Times Sheriff Shootout Special 2024. Pew, pew. Hey, everybody, it's your humble author, narrator, and fictional character. Back for another Sheriff Shootout Special 2024 update. It is in the wee hours of the morning on June the 15th, 2024. First of all you Smart Talk Viral or whatever hashtag we're doing now, family, and Gen X TikTokers who are doing the follow train, you know what to do. Wait the 40 seconds and then tap things and send it. And I know that my videos are a little bit longer than most, but if the whole point of the follow trains are to assemble and be able to have lines of communication to formulate what we're going to do in the collapse of civilization as we know it, then I think that maybe what the Wartown Times is kind of putting out can help you wherever you're at in America. Just saying. So it might be of interest to you anyway. So if you are tuning in, which a lot of the people who pay attention to me are outside of the fictional city of Wartown, and that's okay. They get a kick out of what goes on down here. And I don't blame them because it's entertaining. But anyway, so we have a historic sheriff's race going on down here. We've had the longest sitting sheriff in American history who has sat in that office for 55 years, so over half a century. And now we get to elect somebody brand new. And I think that's historic. I mean, it sounds historic to me, and can heavily influence the future of this community, because the sheriff is a very important elected position. It's not just, you're not just hiring like a cop. The sheriff is a very, very powerful position. And during the times that we're in, you really, really, really want to make sure that you have a sheriff who understands the principles of the Constitution. I mean, you know, here in Wartown, we're a military town, and we all say, oh, every day in Middle Georgia is Armed Forces Appreciation Day. And it's like, yeah, but when you boil it all down to it, what we're basically saying is that we support these guys who fought for this document, right? And so it is probably incumbent upon us not to cut our nose off to spite our face and be hypocritical, that if we're going to be rah-rah for the troops and we support the troops and we're patriotic and everything, that we elect a sheriff who's going to protect this and know this. And so the Wartown Times team, we took it upon ourselves, and you can follow in the links below wherever you're watching this, whether it's Rumble or YouTube or TikTok, wherever. The links to follow this playlist are in the Christ box below, or the description box, whatever you want to call it. We sent a questionnaire out to all of the candidates who were running for sheriff in Houston County, Georgia, to fill in this spot that is, again, a historic spot to be filling, right? The first person who's going to come in after the longest sitting sheriff in American history. It's historic. So we sent a 30-question questionnaire to all the candidates in a pretty good amount of time in advance before the primaries. And they were constitutionally based in 3 different sets, which really would, if you read the questions, and you can go back and listen to the video or see the questions yourself, it will give you a really good gauge of where all of the candidates who are running for sheriff are on the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and what their duty is in relation to it versus, say, the federal government or the state government. You know, what is their duty if there's some kind of a conflict from, I don't know, the federal government or the state government, and it comes down to the county. Is the sheriff going to back this, or is he going to do what the government tells him to do? You know, which never works out for we the people, historically and prophetically, if we're not careful. Anywho, so we sent out a questionnaire to all the candidates, and we didn't get a reply before the primaries. And a few of the candidates, you know, we know that they received it. We could see on their Facebook campaign pages for sheriff, this person and that person, we could see that they did actually see it, or whoever ran their Facebook page saw it. We did email it to all of the candidates and CC'd the candidates to let the candidates know that all the candidates have it. And then we didn't get a response there. And so then we, you know, sent like a little memo to everybody in our city government, and everybody from Madam Mayor LaRonda Patrick down to the dog catcher. And we also CC'd Police Chief Wayne Fisher to let everybody know that, hey, as a community, we really want to be attentive to who we're going to put in the office of sheriff. So anyway, as it turned out, Matt Moulton got it on the day of the primaries. He got it over his competitors, Kendall and Slate and Dunn. And so we were really, really excited. And I think I could figure this screen share thing out here real quick for you guys. Yeah, entire screen. Yeah, see? Yeah, that one. So we were real excited to, oh, and by the way, ZenonTheCard.com opposes genocide, free Palestine, to see that Matt Moulton for Sheriff's page did receive our correspondence that we emailed out to all the candidates in all of City Hall, as well as the questionnaire. And whoever runs the Matt Moulton for Sheriff page, I don't know if it's Matt Moulton or not, saw that June the 4th, 2024 at 5:15 p.m. It is, 6:15, 2024. We haven't received a response from the Matt Moulton for Sheriff campaign. And so basically what I know about Matt Moulton is what I see on social media, on Facebook. Yeah. So this is, I guess I can get to know him on his social media. And there's 152 days until election day. We're already gearing up for election day. Thank you for Team Moulton for your continued support. Thank you. Okay. So anywho, that being the case, he did see our questionnaire. We haven't gotten a response. Archer the Space Schnoodle over in legal told me that our wartowntimes@gmail.com email address is empty and devoid. Too many response from Matt Moulton. However, I did have the pleasure, and much to my excitement, to the candidate for Sheriff, Arthur Lee Harris, did answer my phone call, which was real cool. And we had a very brief conversation last week about the questionnaire. And he has agreed to sit down with yours truly to discuss the constitutional questionnaire. So we were supposed to do that this week, and he's been busy. I know I've been busy, so we kind of missed boats. However, candidate for sheriff in Houston County, Arthur Lee Harris, has agreed to sit down with your humble author, narrator, and fictional character to discuss the questionnaire. And so we're going to set that up. And so the Houston Home Journal did do an article on him, and I think this is fair use. If not, they can sue me for nothing. It's not. It's like free advertising. Anyway, so let's see what the Houston Home Journal has to say about Arthur Lee Harris. Houston County, the race for sheriff has been an eventful time for citizens of Houston County, but the race's lone Democratic candidate, Arthur Lee Harris, is prepared to make a change. Harris was born and raised in Bon Air and grew up in Houston County school system. After graduating from Northside High School, he attended Middle Georgia College and Southern University. See how he also served in the Army, where he spent 2 years of his life. Harris said during those eventful years he was stationed in Fort Benning, California, in Germany. He also said he was in the division that came back onto NATO to Fort Riley in Kansas. Harris was honorably discharged as an E5 sergeant. Thank you for your service. After his time in the Army, he came back home to Warner Robins and started his career in law enforcement. Harris started working as a fireman. Yeah, that's not them. It's totally me. Harris started working as a fireman under the late Chief Ernest Wood and police officer at the same time. Harris worked with current Sheriff Cullen Newton at the Houston County Sheriff Department. He stayed in the department for 23 years and retired from law enforcement in 1996 as a lieutenant. After retiring, he coached at the Warner Robins Recreation Department for 30 years. He coached the recreation football team and the Warner Robins Jets baseball team, which won 9 state championships. Harris said anyway, so I don't want you guys, I'll link the Houston Home Journal article in there. But it's real exciting to know that we're going to be having a conversation with this guy and see what he says about the questionnaire. Like I do with anybody who's running for office around these parts, I like to meet them face to face and like really see where they're at with this document and see what it means to them before I go one way or the other. And so, Mr. Harris answering my call and being willing to sit down and have a conversation with me about the Constitution is very exciting for me. So whenever that meeting does happen, I'll let you know, and let you know what I think about the positions that he does take. Anywho, other than that, I do want to say it is PTSD Awareness Month, and as somebody who lives with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, I want to let you guys know you're not alone. I like to complain about things that are going on because that's my job, is to be the guy who points out things that aren't going right. Because, you got to have that guy in your community that does that. You can't have everybody, listening to the Pied Piper going over the cliff. So I do like to point out things that are going wrong, as should be encouraged, freedom of speech. But I also like to point out things that are going right. And one of the things that are going right is the local government is putting more emphasis on being mindful of people in the community who have unseen illnesses. I myself am one of those people. I developed post-traumatic stress in 2011, which later developed into complex post-traumatic stress and all of the bells and whistles that go along with that. So don't let these dashing blue eyes and chiseled chin fool you. I've seen a lot of crap, man. So I do want to praise the local government for being mindful of that and really emphasizing that it is should be okay in this community to discuss these things and to seek out remedies and methodologies of recovery and not be stigmatized for it. You guys all know that I'm a huge advocate for plant-based medicines such as cannabis and psilocybin and other plant-based medicines, which are also sacraments for many indigenous people. I think that they are miraculous ways to alleviate suffering. And the way that this world is going right now, we're all traumatized, some more than others, but we're all traumatized. And when you are in fight or flight or faint or fawn, you make some ratty decisions. Ask me how I know, okay? And I could tell you guys that if it wasn't for plant medicine, I wouldn't be here, and a lot of other people wouldn't be here. And so I'm glad that the environment is now um, more conducive to have this conversation and to start looking at alternatives to people who utilize plant medicine rather than making them criminals by legislation, word magic. People who are trying to be okay and not use the forms of recovery or medicine that say you think is okay, they're not criminals. Okay, they're picking a different path. And so I'm an outspoken advocate of CannaSense.com, obviously, the CannaSense Total Wellness Collective. And I'm happy to say that for PTSD month, Georgia CannaSense is around to help you in Georgia. So if you're someone who is suffering from an unseen illness and you don't want to go the route of the pill mill, please check out GACannaSense.com, get your medical card, and get you some lab tested organic medicine to get your head right so you can start living right. So I'm glad that it's okay to be talking about these types of things in the community now. And I hope that it kind of can expand beyond the borders of Warner Robins into the county for reasons that we'll get to later. Look, guys, maybe, you don't quite understand why I'm so passionate about this sheriff's race. Maybe you do. Maybe you have an idea where I'm going. We do not live in the world that we entered into. This world is changing. This country is changing. Okay. It's happening very quickly. You literally have Russian nuclear vessels, like Chekhov, nuclear vessels off the tip of Florida. Okay. You have the Middle East on fire, and it's probably going to get worse. You have the option for your president for the United States between a guy who is probably not mentally competent to run an iPad, much less the corporation of the United States of America. You have a choice between him and a game show host who's just been convicted of all kinds of felonies. It is all an illusion, people. Okay, who know what I'm. If this is going over your head and you think that I'm a complete lunatic, fine. Okay, take your Geritol and go to bed. But for those of you who understand what I'm talking about and who pay attention at this point, the honest thread of news is going to be TikTok. Okay, Facebook is a total dumpster fire. It's a pony a pony parade is what it is. If you scroll through Facebook, you get this demented and delusional perception that everything's okay, especially like in the local areas. Everything's cool. We have public works that's still working, but the world's not on fire, and the world's on fire. Okay, we're literally at the end of civilization as we know it. Okay, hey, empires rise and empires fall. Happens all the time. If you incarnate on this ball or flat plane, whatever your proclivity, chances are you're either going to end up somewhere where an empire is coming into totalitarian whatever, or it's falling. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes you can come to earth and hit that sweet spot, right? When a republic is about to be born and, society as a whole has learned from its mistakes. We're a minute from that. We're more in the collapse of empire and all that good stuff. And so uh, I can see it. A lot of Generation X people who are finding themselves on TikTok, they can see it. They can see that the game is it's all falling apart. Like here in Georgia, you had to have a Young Thug trial up in Atlanta to get everybody's attention on the fact that the so-called justice system, its courts and its judges, they're just making shit up as they go along. Like it's not just in this trial and in this case and in that courtroom where you literally have judges who were sworn to uphold this. They're bound by this, and they violate it every single day. And now it's all being exposed, and it's wonderful. I love it. It's exciting, but it's also scary. And I'm trying to implore to you people here in my community that you have to look forward past all of this chaos on what's going to happen next. And the office of sheriff is a really important office that's going to play a critical role on what happens around here when the inevitable occurs. Okay. So, like I said, the jury's still out. I am disappointed that I didn't get a response about these constitutional questions from any of these candidates prior to the primaries, which is why I could not cast a vote for any of them. I had to do write-ins only, which I might share later. But for the most part, I couldn't because I didn't really know where they stood, and I'm sorry, but me and my generation, we're done with the lesser of two evils. We're completely done with the charade of party politics actually being for the benefit of the people. That's bullshit. We all know it, and we're not going to do that game anymore. It's just not fun, so I don't care about any of that. What I care about, I don't care, you know, I don't care about team sports in this matter. I don't care, okay? Because I know how important this is. And I'm trying to impress upon you and you people in Wartown how important it is. If you can't tell, what I care about is if whoever we put in the position of sheriff, how they view this document, and if they've done a thing a certain way their entire career, and then they find, oops, it's actually in contradiction and contrary to this thing, and then they don't ever do that again. I mean, is that too much to ask? Anyway, so I'll let you guys know. I'm looking forward to sitting down with candidate for Sheriff Arthur Lee Harris. It's a start, and we'll see if the Matt Moulton Full Sheriff campaign reaches out to yours truly, or emails me, or hits me up, answers my call, or gives me your number, or anything like that, because I'd like to have, coffee with Matt Moulton and talk about, these issues. So until next time, guys, stay well. Again, I'm sorry, TikTok folks, these are longer than normal. This is going a little long. I'll probably have to edit some shit out, but that's okay. Anyway, stay tuned. And it's really kind of bittersweet because they call Generation X the silent generation. And I mean, I suppose that's true, but not entirely true, because I never shut up, and which has gotten me in more trouble than I care to admit. I've always been harping about what's going on when it was not fashionable to do so, specifically in this community. When I started zeninthecar.com quite a while back, I wanted to raise the awareness about our local police force getting armed with military equipment such as Linco, Bearcat, assault tanks. I don't care if you call it a rescue vehicle in your measures or whatever, it's a tank. Okay, these are armored vehicles that are meant to intimidate and kill and destroy. They're not rescuing anybody. And I don't know how much we've been paying for them. I really don't. But it's a lot. And it's also creepy that we're, getting the conditioning into local peace officers, the mentality of being military. which is a violation of posse comitatus. So it's a way to run around it. But we'll get to all that stuff again later. But I've been trying to sound the alarm in this community about what's right at our doorstep for a very long time. And, you know, it's good to see that now, after all these years, feeling like I've been banging my head against the wall or talking to a wall, that people in the community are starting to find one another who are of the same mindset that the two-party system is trash and everything is really exposed for the corrupted, systematic meat grinder machines that local government or government in general pretends to be. Now we all see it. And, Generation X is the last generation to kind of put a stop to it for kids coming up. So it's good to see new voices rising in the community to point out things that they think are inherently wrong or not being done right. It's not so easy to shut us all up now, and that's a wonderful thing. So I want to thank all you guys who, when I do get out of here off the Starship and mingle in the community, I want to thank you guys who fist bump me or give me a hug and tell me to keep doing what I'm doing, and that you appreciate that I'm keeping you guys informed. You don't understand how much that means to me whenever I run into some of you guys out there, at the grocery store or whatever, walking my dog. It means a lot to me. And I'm glad that you're listening. And I really hope that you listen to what I'm talking about this sheriff's race. Now, we're going to get to some other stuff that's going on in Wartown. I'm going to try to get more of this content out quicker and quicker. But I do really, really, really want to continue heavily emphasizing this. And make sure that you guys, please don't play team sports with this sheriff's race. Okay? You really got to get this right. Because, and it's like I said, I don't know if these two candidates understand the decisions that they're going to have to make in the next 4 years. They're going to be very, very tough decisions. And, I understand that when people get into politics, I've seen it. They go in with the best of intentions, and then they get sucked into that little world that becomes a simulacrum and blinds them from what's actually going on in reality. And they're in their political world, and they don't see the bigger picture. They just, they see what's right in front of them. And typically it's re-election. And, at this point, we can't afford that. We have to make sure that we are carefully getting people in local government, because let's just say the worst goes to worst and somebody has an itchy trigger finger down there in Florida, and, all it takes is a sneeze from the wrong side, and you're talking about white flashes everywhere, no internet, some serious stuff. And it's not out there in woo-woo land. It's right here at your doorstep, despite what your Facebook feed is trying to make you believe. Okay? We are a hairline fracture away from nuclear annihilation, people. And so, in the event that things go really, really, really south, okay, people in areas like ours are going to be scraping for any kind of a concept of infrastructure to rebuild, or whatever, however bad it gets. And I assure you, what you do not want is the absolute deception of mob rule that we call democracy. That is absolutely mind-numbingly ignorant to think that democracy is a good thing. Okay? It's majority rules. That's mob rule. It's like the founder said, it's two wolves and a sheep voting for what's for dinner. Okay, you want to go with the idea of a republic. Okay, we used to say it, the Pledge of Allegiance, to the republic, right? Anywho, so that's why I think it's important for all of us in the community to have one of these, to know what this is, to disseminate these to everybody that we can in our community. Because if worst case scenario happens, some kind of apocalyptic thing that everybody kind of feels is going to happen, then it would be kind of cool for us to have a structure that allowed, the most amount of freedom and liberty. And I'm not, trust me, I'm not saying that that America is the pristine land of the free and of liberty, because that's not true. Okay, but the idea of it certainly is. And it may be a small point in history. This land and its people certainly did have it to the highest degree that they could, but it was because of this. Benjamin Franklin, like he told the lady on the steps there after they ratified it and signed it and all that good. What have you given us, sir? And Benjamin Franklin said, a republic, if you can keep it. So, I don't know. I don't think that we kept the republic as well as they had hoped that we would. But we do have an opportunity to restore the concept of a republic and whatever is on the other side of this. But anyway, I didn't want to keep you guys too long. It's 26 minutes and 30 seconds as far as my clock goes. I just wanted to give you an update and once again impress upon you to pay attention and please engage. Don't be apathetic. I understand. When government hasn't listened to you, as long as government hasn't listened to us, it's like, what's the point, right? Why do it? And I almost think that that's kind of how government wants us to be. And I get it. Most of the time when I go and cast my vote, I'm writing in fictional characters because I vote my conscience, because there's nobody on the ballot that I really that sways my conscience to go, yeah, which is sad, but it is. So anyway, I guess all I'm saying is, for this election, you really want to make it count, Wartown and Houston County. Make sure you vet your two sheriff candidates who are left in the race, and ask them what they think about the questionnaires whenever you find them at their functions. Until next time, I love you guys. Wait, what's the the gang sign? There you go. There, if you're in Wartown, peace. Zen in the car, for the spiritually minded liberty activist on the go. Liketh, shareth, subscribeth. It's what the cool kids do.